Hello, YouTube world. I am back with a part two of my ancestry results. A couple of years back, I did my first video sharing my DNA ancestry. So I am back with a part two with an update. And what an update it is. So you can go back and watch my first video. It's called My Ancestry DNA Results. It's on the same channel. So if you want to see that, to watch my first one. And in that one, I'm just going to go through what I briefly what I mentioned in my first video. I shared my results from 23andMe. And in that first video, I didn't have screen share, so I didn't share my screen. But now I'm sharing it, and this is the breakdown. You see all the countries, and you can see where it says I'm 94.5% sub-Saharan African. So that's from 23andMe. And I also submitted my DNA to Ancestry DNA. And you can see that breakdown as well. And according to Ancestry DNA, I'm 96% African. So Ancestry DNA and 23andMe, they're fairly close. Some of the countries are different, but as far as like the percentage, it was fairly close. And also my father submitted his DNA ancestry, his DNA to DNA tribes. And this is his breakdown. Unfortunately, DNA tribes is no longer in operation. They ceased operation in January 4th, 2019. But this is his breakdown too. And it took me a while to understand their breakdown. But as you can see, these are some of the countries that came up and also the tribe. And the main tribe that came up was the Fang. So with this, I was able to conclude that, okay, well, his DNA ancestry was from the Fang people. And you can see the country, which is Equatorial Guinea and all of that. So I did some research on the Fang people, and I found some things, but I didn't find a whole lot on the Fang people. But later on in this video, I'll get more into the Fang people or the Fang, whichever way it's pronounced. So this year, my father submitted his DNA to African Ancestry. And African Ancestry actually traces your lineage, your lineage back either to your paternal lineage or your maternal lineage. So my father submitted his DNA to African Ancestry for his paternal lineage. Now, I know there's been concerns about these companies, DNA companies, sharing your information. Well, African Ancestry, they do not share or sell the customer's personal or genetic information. They have it on the frequently asked questions page. So its number is the fourth bullet point. It says, we do not sell or share customers' personal or genetic information. So if you were wondering about that, African Ancestry, they don't do that. So my father submitted his DNA for his paternal lineage. Now, the thing about your paternal lineage, it has to be a male relative. So if you want to know your paternal lineage and you're a female, you can't do it because females don't carry the Y chromosome. So if you want to know your paternal lineage, you will have to get a male relative for that. Now, as for the maternal lineage, both male and female can do that one because both the man and the woman carry the X chromosome. So this is my father's paternal lineage. So this is my great grandfather, Mac Johnson. And you see where he, born. Well, we don't know the date he was born, year he was born, but you have the date where he died. And then this is my grandfather, Oscar Johnson. And you have where he born and died. And this is my father, Robert Lee Johnson. So the paternal lineage goes all the way back to the fathers. He submitted his DNA to find out his paternal lineage and which ethnic groups and tribes that it traced back to. So he received the results, and these are the ethnic groups that African Ancestry linked my father's ancestry to, and they said it was a 100% certainty that my father is descended from these groups. So, and these are the ethnic groups here. It's the Sogo, Teke, and the Kota people living in Gabon. This is a country in Africa. So 100% accuracy. And so I was wondering, I said, okay, well, DNA tribe said the Fang, but these are the groups that African ancestry, you know, showed. So I wondered about that, but I'm just going to show you some pictures. Now, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing these names. These are names that I'm not familiar with, but these are just some of the pictures of the ethnic groups. This is the Sogo people, some pictures of the Sogo people. I think they're doing some kind of ritual, performing some ritual here. And these are the Teke people, and also the Kota people. So these are just some pictures that I just wanted to share. And also, here are pictures of the Fang people that the DNA tribes linked my father to. And so I was wondering, why didn't Fang come up in the African ancestry? But I did some research, and here is just a little bit from this article that I found. So and this is the Kota people, and this is one of the groups that my father is linked to. Kota people, also known as the Pakota or Kuta or Akota, can be found in Gabon and Congo, which Gabon is a country that my father's linked to, and Congo. They are part of the Bantu-speaking branch or Bantu-speaking people. They are related to the Fang people of Gabon. So there goes. The Kota people is related. They're linked to the Fang people. So it's still consistent. So that gave me some peace of mind, because I thought, okay, well, why is DNA tribes linking my daddy to a different group than African ancestry? But no, they're all related. And one thing about Africa, Africa is one of the most ethnically diverse continents. So you will have many different ethnic groups and sub-tribes and sub-tribes and ethnic groups and sub-ethnic groups. So they're very ethnically diverse. And then this is just some of the artwork of the Fang and Kota people, the Sogo people. They are very famous for their masks. You see these different, African style masks. A lot of them, these masks are made by the ethnic groups that I just mentioned. And then this is just one of the religious practice that the Fang and the Soko people practice. Because see, they share, since they're related, a lot of their customs and their cultures are the same. And this is just one of their belief system, the Witi, something like that. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. But this is practiced by the Soko and the Sogo and the Fang people of Gabon and the Cameroon. And then this is just a picture of the rituals, the Witi rituals. And then this is just this is from Wikipedia on the Fang people. And this is just showing the countries where you can find the Fang people. And I just want to show you, because the Equatorial Guinea, that showed up in DNA tribes, Cameroon showed up, and of course, Gabon showed up as well. And then also, I just want to show you a breakdown of the Sogo people, where they are found in Gabon as well, along with the Fang people. The Teke people, if you can read here, they're also a minority of Teke people in the country of Gabon. Kota people, they also can be found in the country of Gabon. As you can see, all these ethnic groups that came up in my daddy's ancestry results, they can be found in the country of Gabon. So everything, is agreeing and everything is consistent. And then this is just a flag of the country of Gabon. And this is where Gabon is located. It's in on the West African coast. Some say Central Africa, but it's on the way, it's on the West Coast. So there it is right there, the country of Gabon. And you can see the other countries that were mentioned: Cameroon, You saw Nigeria in my father's DNA tribe ancestry results. Congo, they're all close. Equatorial Guinea is a little small yellow one there. So they're all close together. Now, I would like to share this with you. I was doing some, once I got my father's ancestry, African ancestry results, I started doing some research. And then I found this YouTube video, and it's from the, you'll see at the bottom here, the Fellowship of the First Resurrection. And I'm just going to read you this part here that was in the video. And this really, oh, this was just a gold nugget that he, the brother in the video did some, found on the Fang people. Now, the Fang people are also known as the Beti Pahuan. Forgive me for mispronouncing if that's not the correct pronunciation. So I'm just going to read this. The Beti Pahuan or Fang people of Middle Africa are specifically West Central African descent from the ancient Israelites of the Bible. Their patriarch specifically comes from the tribe of Manasseh. And let me pause here. Now, in the video, I'm going to include this video in the description. So if you want to know more detail, but in the video, the brother shared his sources. So that's why I'm big on sharing my, my sources. And this information is actually from the elders of the Fang people. You have, researchers and scholars doing their research, traveling to these specific African regions and speaking with the elders. The elders of these tribes, they're the ones that have the history. So they kept good, the Fang people, they kept good records of their history and of their ancestry. So I just wanted to mention that. So let me continue. They were founded by descendants of Ephraim or Afri bin Manasseh, part of the warrior pastoral class of the tribe of Manasseh. They were taken to Mesopotamia by the Assyrians after the fall of the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, Samaria, around 722 BC. And you can read this in 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verses 23 to 26. During the time of the Persian rule, they were taken from Mesopotamia and placed in Egypt at the Jewish garrisons of Elephantine and Taphanes. After the Hamitic Egyptians destroyed their temple at Elephantine, they fled into the neighboring desert between Kemet and Cush, or Meroe, and towns of Nubia, or southern Egypt. This is southern Egypt and modern Sudan. They remained there roughly for 1,600 years. Around the 13th century AD, Bedouin Arabs began raiding Makuria. A man named Afrikara or Ifer of Makuria, or Ifer el-Makura, he led the Beti Pahawan or the Fang to West Africa, first settling in Sahelian Nigeria. Around the 17th century, pressure from slave raiding by the Hausa Fulani forced them to migrate into their current locations, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, and Gabon. Thousands upon thousands were taken captive to the Americas, being captured directly by Europeans, as well as Fulani and the Loango. They were shipped from the Bight of Biafra and Loango. So this is a history, a brief history of the Fang people. And as you can see, they trace their ancestry, their lineage, back to the tribe of Manasseh. The tribe of Manasseh. Now, Manasseh, who is Manasseh? Manasseh, according to the book of Genesis, Manasseh is the firstborn son of Joseph and Asenath. As you know, Joseph was one of the sons of Jacob. And I was delighted to find this information. I was delighted. So, the Fang people are traced back to Manasseh, the tribe of Manasseh. And so, you hear of a lot of, African Americans are saying that we are descended from the children of Israel. Well, this is proof right here, historical proof right here that traces my father's lineage back to Manasseh, which is a tribe of Israel. And as you can see, Manasseh was the son of Joseph, and he was the Joseph and his wife was Asenath, and Asenath was an Egyptian woman whom Pharaoh gave to Joseph his wife. And and those of you who read the Bible, the story of Joseph can be found in Genesis. Joseph was one of the sons I said before, one of the sons of Jacob. He was Jacob's favorite son, and his brothers envied him, and they, sold him into slavery, and he ended up in Egypt, and he became Potiphar's slave. And then, of course, Potiphar's wife she wanted to sleep with Joseph, but Joseph wouldn't sleep with him, so she lied on him, and he ended up in prison. And then Pharaoh had a dream, and he interpreted Pharaoh's dream, and then Pharaoh exalted him, and he was actually put next to Pharaoh. And that's when Pharaoh gave Joseph a new name, of course, Zaphanath-Paneah, and then he gave him a wife, Asenath. And Asenath, she was a daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. And then, of course, Joseph, he ruled over Egypt. And think about Asenath. She was an Egyptian, and she was a daughter of an Egyptian priest. And some of my cousins thought that we had Egyptian ancestry, and come to find out, we actually do. We actually have, Hebraic Egyptian ancestry. So we do have Egyptian ancestry. So some of my cousins who thought what we did, they were actually right. We are descended from Egyptian nobility as well as, Israelites. So, and of course, Manasseh was the firstborn son of Joseph. And he said, for God, he said, for he has made me forget all my toil in my father's house. And that's found in Genesis 41, verses 45 and 51. And then, so this is just a list of the 12 tribes of Israel. And of course, Joseph, this is where we descended from. And he's the 11th son of Jacob. Also, Jacob is also known as Israel. And then, as you can see, this is Joseph's sons here, Manasseh and Ephraim. And I just want to read it. And to Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for Yah, or God, said, he made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second son is called Ephraim, for Yah, or God, has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And this is found in Genesis 41, verses 50 through 52. Now, I want you all to keep Ephraim in mind. Keep Ephraim in mind. And of course, this is just from Wikipedia, and this is just talks about the tribe of Joseph, where you don't actually hear people say tribe of Joseph. Joseph is divided into 2 tribes. You would either hear tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Manasseh. I think it's mentioned, it's actually mentioned in Revelations only twice, mentioned in the Bible only twice, the tribe of Joseph. You can find those in Numbers 13 and through 11, 13 verse 11, and Revelation 7, verse 8. Those are the only 2 times where the tribe of Joseph is actually mentioned. Now, I told you all to keep Ephraim in mind. Now, let me go back to my daddy's DNA tribes results. And farther down, you will see where Yoruba comes up in his ancestry as well. And some of you probably heard about Yoruba being, Yoruba people in Nigeria. Well, some sources trace Yoruba back to the tribe of Ephraim, the children of Ephraim. That's where some people say that the Yoruba people are descended from. And as you know, Ephraim and Manasseh were brothers. So it would make sense for Yoruba to show up in my daddy's DNA results. Yoruba, so that it's adding up right there. It makes a lot of sense for that to show up. And so I just want to show you Manasseh's migration route of the Fang people when I shared with you that large paragraph. And this, I just want you to follow this red line that I have here. And the red line is from Israel and Mesopotamia, Egypt, Northern Sudan, Nigeria, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, and Gabon. And as the story, according to the Fang elders, is showing, it told of Manasseh's migration from those regions. So there's where our ancestors migrated, all the way from Israel and that region of what they call the Middle East, which we know there's no such thing as a Middle East. That's just another part of Africa. But it just shows from that region. And this is where our ancestors ended up, right here in Gabon. And so I just thought this was just awesome and beautiful and enlightening. And this just shows where our DNA actually tells our story. Here we have biblical proof, historical proof, and genetic proof. Now back to DNA tribes, it's just showing from the earliest, I'm just boxing this part off here. And it's also consistent with this migration route here. The DNA shows the migration. Levantine, this area here, this is what they call the Middle East. Polynesian, the Asians, that's also, linked to that area as well. And then there you go, Arabia, because that's also Polynesian, it's Asia. Mestizo, that can also be linked to trace back to Asia as well. Arabia, of course, that's the so-called Middle East. North Africa, Horn of Africa, Southern Africa, African Great Lakes, Sahelian, and then tropical West Africa. So this is where our ancestors ended up, from the so-called Middle East to North African area to the West Africa area. And of course, our ancestors was taken to the New World, the so-called New World. So I just wanted to share you all my experience. This is the update and what an update it was. And I encourage you all, if you haven't done it already, to do some, research and try and trace back your family ancestry. And of course, my journey is not over, because I'll also plan to submit DNA to find out my maternal ancestry and possibly my father's maternal ancestry as well. So I just wanted to share with you my experience, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.